You ever think about quitting?
It's the combat of life hammering the snot out of you.
Well, stand by, dig in deep, and get ready to get fired up with us.
Welcome to the Team Never Quit podcast, the #1 podcast that inspires you to fight on. I'm your host, David Rutherford, here with Mr. Never Quit himself, Marcus Luttrell.
Our mission is to help you embrace the suck of life, to teach you the values of working your ass off, and to interview the most hard-charging people on planet Earth.
We know life is hard. It's time for you to suck it up, Buttercup, and let us teach you to persevere in every environment imaginable by sharing real-world lessons learned by those who never quit. That's right. It's time, Marcus, for us to help them defeat the negative insurgency in their lives.
You fire me up. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
Let's roll. Okay, so I know I'm fired up. I know you're fired up. This is the absolute most fired up show you're ever going to hear. It's the first Team Never Quit podcast. And I gotta say, I'm pretty stoked. Marcus, are you fired up?
I am, man. I tell you what, last couple of days before we got up here, I mean, you even came in early. And I was telling Mel, I was like, let's get back, let's get this thing started up. And the more I was thinking about it, more fired up I was gonna be. Because ultimately what this is a chance for me and you to get to just hang out.
That's all it is.
And I was stoked about that.
Well, thanks, brother. Well, listen, and we're stoked that all you are on with us right now, because I'll tell you what, this show is all about you guys. It's about us figuring out ways how to help you, because our mission on the show is to expose people all across America and around the world to the never quit mindset, in order to help all of you succeed in your lives. Now, we plan on doing this by telling the absolute greatest never quit stories in history, discussing current events, or where we talk about the ultimate never quit, or we deny, or the people that are denying, like the total idiots out there. And finally, we're gonna bring on the coolest people you've ever heard from all walks of life to share their incredible never quit stories with us and with you, so you can learn to never quit yourself. How's that sound, Marcus?
Good, great. You laid it out just right. I mean, what we talked about earlier, and the beauty about this show is everybody has one, whether they know it or not. I mean, and you kind of create that and give these people an opportunity to hear people that everybody knows about and how they got there and some of their stories, and then the people that go through the same exact thing, because that's the beauty about it. There's no difference between us. I don't care where you're standing or what
human condition.
Yeah, human condition right there, man. So hearing them, you get to read some of the stories, you get to hear them, but on here we get to hear them and compare them and go down some of those rabbit holes.
Yeah, we're going down a rabbit hole, baby.
Well, he did what? I'm like, oh man, I didn't even think about that option.
I love it. So that's why we're here. This is the whole reason. Just to give you a little bit background on everything. You know, the never quit mindset is there's no one definition, right? And so what we want to do is we want to make it interesting for you. So we've broken the show down into 3 basic parts, and how it'll work is we're going to come on, Marcus and I we're going to talk about either a great moment in history, like today's will be the Battle of Thermopylae, right? Or we'll have a great current event, or talk about somebody in the news that's having a never quit moment or not so never quit moment. And then we're going to get into the interview, and we're going to give you, it's the greatest interviews, like we said, but also we're going to break down where these people learned about this stuff, where it came from, how they were taught, and then that'll be the first half, and then we're going to break it into the second half to where lessons learned can translate into our listeners' lives. That ability to literally, share in a way that people can learn from.
Sure.
I mean, you do it all the time, right?
You said human condition. It's an American condition.
Amen.
I mean, that never quit from the start we came over here to anybody. And it's all, I think one of the unique things about it when we were talking about the show is a lot of people get in the same situations. When like I said, a lot of the outcomes are different. And when you hear about that one little, most people hear the outcome of the story, and then you get a little bit of an overview or go down it just a little bit. But we refer to that rabbit hole, and you'll hear that word rabbit hole on this show a lot.
In fact, I gotta let you know a little secret that a couple of people on Team Never Quit informed me that down the rabbit hole was going to become a standard operational line on the show.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean that's the beauty about it. It could be a deep one or a shallow one, and just we can roll off of anything.
Well, one of the coolest things that I think I'll share with you now is that one of my best tattoos, I've got the actual Mad Hatter tattooed on my body with an MP5 and a med bag. So that makes a big difference when you're going down
Sure. Yeah. Who you go down there with?
Who you're going down with.
And that's what kind of brings you and I together and connects us is we go down the rabbit hole with our boys, you know what I mean?
Amen. And I'll tell you one of the coolest things is for the people that are listening is we're going to have a tremendous opportunity to take people with us on this ride, to take them down the holes and really help people that are struggling. I mean, I know when we first talked about this and the idea of getting on here and being able to share our insight, not that, we've done anything super special or nothing, but
that's the unique part about it. We don't have S's on our chest, no capes. I mean, just like anybody else, man, we're all the same, all handle it differently.
And so I think the more we can assist with each other and help each other see some kind of hope, that's a little spark, that light, right, that's in all of us. If we can stoke that fire in someone's gut, man, then we're doing something good.
Absolutely.
Right? All right.
We talked about that part too, where it doesn't matter what you are, who you are, where you come from on here. I mean, that's not why we'll bring them on here. That's not what we care. We care about the human condition, and that because it doesn't matter where you're standing, you're likely to get in the same situation that some other guy got into, man. So let's hear them out.
And that's what's so cool, right? I mean, we do get exposed to some. I mean, you and I know some pretty amazing human beings.
Yep.
But there's also, I mean, there's 7 billion people on this planet, and that's a lot of never quit stories.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to bring those best ones on this show for everybody listening. All right, so let's jump into it. Let's just get going right away. So, all right, our first thing we're going to talk about, and we're just going to shoot shit a little bit on this, all right?
Yep.
And we're going to talk about the Battle of Thermopylae. Your favorite? Well, I know it's my favorite for sure. And if you're not familiar with this, just Wikipedia. That's one of my favorite places to start. And all you wiki haters, go pack sand because it's just a place to start. It's not the definitive book on it, but it's a place to get a little background story. Get a little understanding. If you're not familiar,
get you started.
Get you started. That's it.
That's an overview. Get you started,
That's
man.
it.
So
then it's up to them to dig into it.
All right.
So if you're not familiar, the Battle of Thermopylae.
Remember in Bud's training, and it's okay if we.
Absolutely.
Gates of Fire is a mandatory read.
Right.
Mandatory read.
That's where it changed my life.
Hearing that story going through SEAL training that's why it's mandatory read, man, because you
literally when you read that first moment about those little whippersnappers at what, like 6 or 8?
Yeah, I was gonna say 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
Yeah.
They go into the Agoge.
It's time,
and they learn to fight from that stage. Now, what would happen if all of a sudden tomorrow we start the Agoge in America?
Right. I have my own in this house. My son's 4 years old, and I got to tell you right now, he's the minute he could answer the question, was it his own thought pattern, was when we started.
And it's on.
Right? It's on. Son, you're in trouble. Adelaide, my daughter, she's got an easy day, but Axe is in trouble.
And my wife, who I affectionately call the Admiral when I'm on the air, she, I've got 2 daughters, and so my 5-year-old, the bear, I get her, and I try and put her through, but then my wife looks at me side-eyed. She goes, she is not going to be a frogman. I go, right. Well, you never know. She might be something else.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll call Melanie the boss.
You got it.
So same thing with your daughter. And Adelaide she's a girl's girl. I mean, but I was joking about it. You find a lot of these fathers who are over, and I get it. I mean, I have a daughter too, but overly protective, keep them away, the boyfriends, and this, that, and the other. I plan on teaching Adelaide every trick I ever used, and I mean, just have her mentally prepared to handle any of that kind of stuff.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
I love it. So jiu-jitsu when she's 6?
Physical part, sure, just to take care of herself if it happens, but the mental aspect, I mean, learning from a bunch of frogmen on how, hey, sweetie, they're going to be coming at you from all directions kind of deal. So if a dude shows up to my house to date my daughter, he's earned it. You know what I mean? By the time I'm done.
She's gone through the gates of fire.
Right, exactly. Right, yeah. She was standing at the dude standing at Thermopylae. No 300, just her.
I love it. So, all right, so the Battle of Thermopylae, if you're not familiar, is 300 Spartans. This Persian crazy cat was coming at him. He had apparently a couple 100,000 troopers, right?
million man army, wasn't it?
That's what the word is.
Yeah, but obviously I got it.
Back then,
You're
a
right.
little
Sure,
embellished.
sure.
So the archaeologists are starting to think it may be around 200, 250,000.
Right.
Like anybody's seen that in the modern era anyways, right?
It wouldn't matter if anything over a certain number. When it starts to blend together, it's like it's a lot. You know what I mean? Count them all you want, man. But after a certain number, it's like a lot.
Especially when you only have 300.
And I'm backing this up with tanks, man. We're talking about swords and shields and spears.
A phalanx. What's your hey?
This is the trick right here.
What's your secret weapon? We don't quit.
Yeah,
that's it. Anyway, so the Persians come, they go to this place called the Hot Gates, and wave after wave for 5 days, they resisted this onslaught. And, there's been a great movie called 300 by Frank, what's his name? Wrote
Miller?
Yeah, Frank Miller, awesome. He's a graphic artist. Of course, the book by Jason Presserfield, what's his name?
Steve Pressfield.
Yeah. I'll tell this wonderful story. And I think what gravitates guys like you and I, or anybody if you just like history, is the fact that these guys were walking to their death.
Right.
They knew that.
Yep.
It wasn't like, hey, we're coming back. And in fact, one of the documented historical lines was when Leonidas' wife said to him,
don't come back on it. Yeah, exactly.
Come back on it, right?
Yeah.
Or with it. And he's talking about a shield. And that's the way they live their life. And combine that with the Agogri and this experience, you can only imagine how proud they were.
I mean, that was a lineage thing. That's one of the things about passing down the stories from generation to generation. Beauty about the military. You hear about these guys, and as obviously technology increases, you have more and more means to learn about that. It used to be you join the military and you hear it through your units.
That's right.
And this kind of went down like this. And I think it's timeless through the years. Warriors have passed down that tradition of, hey, we know we're walking to our death probably, but I'm going to come back with my shield or on it. And it's gone from the shield to the American flag. You know what I'm talking about? It's
to
just
the trident?
Right, yeah, to our trident. I mean, that's
absolutely.
a big deal. That's why the coffins get stamped. I mean, you're taking a part of us with you because we were all out there together.
It's almost like, and I love how, we always use that reference of going to Valhalla together, right?
Oh, man.
And where in the old days they put the coins in the eyes,
boatman,
where we do the tridents on the casket, and not, and people who are going to hear us talk about a lot of this are they going to be, look, oh my God, they're so insensitive, but
right.
They don't. You got to understand when you make this commitment to the never quit mindset, it's a bigger process, isn't it? You cease to look at things in a normal way.
It's your bottom line.
Yeah.
I mean, to stop me, to have to kill, to kill us.
Right.
That kind of deal. And that's the power in doing things by yourself. And we'll get into this obviously too.
Yeah.
By yourself is one thing, but you know how much stronger you feel when you have your buddy standing next to you, and if there's 10, 12, 15, 18 of you standing together that you know their background and what they're capable of.
It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, that's why we can do the things we do. That's why them guys could fly into Pakistan to go get bin Laden into a country.
24 dudes.
Yeah. Let's go. What are we doing? Let's roll.
Let's
go.
What I mean? Let's go. And I think when you hear this story, that's what starts when it starts to sink in with people listening, right? That's when they really start to say, my God, these guys. And they stayed. It's not like they got into one brawl or skirmish and then they took off. They stayed until there was no one left.
Back in them days, it was all family. I mean, in the military, we join up and we come in. You get to know them through training. He's born and raised, gone through, and the beauty about it and the camaraderie. And I think the reason a lot of the military people understand this, and for the civilians, the way it works is you just don't sign up and go into they hand you your rifle and you go get it on. That's not how it works. You know what I'm talking about? So you sign up and you go through all this training, the hard stuff, because that's how the teamwork's built, right?
Yeah,
not the
absolutely.
good times and the bad.
It's the pain.
The pain.
The application of pain.
Right. And you go through all of that, those little things that keep building up and building up. It's like, oh, he could have quit, but he didn't. So let's see how far we can push this. And then the furthest push is combat.
Absolutely.
And that's why they stay. That's why you don't leave. That's why, we never left each other before.
It ain't going to happen now. And that's the glory of it, right? And I think a lot of people, when they hear these stories, if they're not familiar with our culture, if they're not familiar with, the history of that great sacrifice, that willing sacrifice for the person you love most, your brother in arms. I think people are like, well, that doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. And I don't, it's because they make that choice. They don't want to go for that sacrifice.
Sure. I mean, people talk about, I did it for my wife back home, my kids. I got that hit. I wasn't married, but I had my family back home. But when you're over there going through all that, man, the people back here are just in a memory. Your teammates who were back home with you, and now they're over here with you, and everything else is gone, and you're in that hole, man.
It's almost as if I remember, pre 9/11 deployment, totally different, right? Post 9/11 deployment, it was like as soon as the phone call you hung up or you gave the hug, it was just like done. And you didn't think about it until you stepped off that plane when you got home. And every subsequent deployment I did after that, it was the same thing. Yeah. Because you're right, you really have to maintain that focus at that higher level because the people next to you are counting on you.
Right. And same way it is for the teams. The way I try to do it, and when I try to refer to it in the teams, I'm like, hey, look, man, if you got one or two dudes saying something about a guy, not everybody likes everybody. There's 15 or 20 guys saying something, there's probably some weight on it. But, I mean, it's just, ultimately it boils down to, even if I don't like the guy, I've been somewhere where he didn't leave me. So, yeah, do I go hang out with him outside of work? Probably not, man, but I love him. You know what I'm saying? I will die for that dude.
Literally.
People sitting there going, yeah, and I'm like, well, whatever.
And when you really dig into that story too, the 300 story, what a lot of people don't know is that there were 2,000 Greeks there with them, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There were the Athenians, there was some other Greeks there to support them, and they were all brothers in that moment.
That's where I was going with that, man. They didn't even like each other. Some of them towns were just like, nah, I don't have anything to do with them, man. But if you're standing on the line with the guy,
things change.
Everything goes away.
Yeah.
I really don't care if you have brown hair. You know what I mean? I don't. So it doesn't matter out here, man.
And that, in my mind, is really where those connective points start happening for us.
Absolutely.
It is where, where that mindset in your own mind, because you've done the training. These guys, they grew up in the Agoge. They pushed themselves. They marched all the way out there. They know where they're going to their deaths. But, it's in that first arrow that gets slung or the first wave of whoever those crazy assassins were that come, and then they held it off, and then the bond is tighter. Yep. And then the second wave, the bond is tighter. The third wave, that's it.
The minute that thing's over, there is a connection there that if you're still standing, that is unbreakable.
Yeah, and it doesn't go away, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the beauty. I think, the one thing that a lot of people out there that I've seen is, and it was so funny, last night or this morning when I came down, you were watching Rocky 3, right?
I think last night you caught me watching Looney Tunes.
Looney Tunes. I was going to save that for another part of the show.
Daffy Duck, Fantasy Island, Fantastic Island, yeah.
So listen, I want everybody listening right now. I literally came downstairs last night, and Marcus had just gotten home, and I look at the TV, and he's watching Looney Tunes, and for a moment there, I caught myself going, wow, that's a great show.
Yeah. Right? Was it not? I never, most of us, man, we were dreamers and when we were kids, and that's that part of I remember back when I watched it when I was a kid, and the happiness, it drags you back to a time in your life. Yeah, exactly, when things were different.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. So, behind these walls, and I didn't know you were looking over my shoulder, but another people figure out about this, it doesn't matter what you catch me doing. You know what I'm like? You're my teammate, you're my brother.
Amen.
It's just kind of like, it's just him, man.
Yeah.
It's just, he likes to watch cartoons. So
and I love it. It made me want to go watch, but you were watching Rocky 3 too, which is one of my all-time favorites. And the concept is why do people love Rocky so much? Because he's the underdog. Right. Because he never quits, no matter how much, whether he gets beat up by Clubber Lang or he gets thrown out of the ring by the fabulous Thunder Lips.
Absolutely, yeah, great.
He never quits, and the same is true for the Spartan guys. And what's remarkable is that here it is, I don't even know how many, thousands of years later, and you and I are on the radio talking about it because of the importance of what those men did together. And I think that's what people need to understand about themselves.
Sure. Sure.
and the story that they possess, right? Their never quit story. And then right before we were gotten on, like when we first got on, you were talking about we've all got it.
Yeah.
And people need to realize it's got value, right?
I think we can delve down this one too later, but I mean, team guys they're notorious for watching a lot of TV when we're over, right? And reading and educating ourselves with that mindset kind of deal. And it does, and there's certain movies that we watch that do certain things to us.
Yeah.
And with the Rocky deal, and I mean, it hits home. And he started out as nothing, worked his way up, and got to where he was the best. And Rocky 3 is probably one of my favorites because it reminds you not to forget
who you are, where you come from,
and never think that you're always going to be the best. Because there's some guy, we talked about this the other day, the younger frogs coming up, man, they're twice as hard and as fast, and it's kind of one of them deals, old age and experience. You know, Sung Soo, man, when you get to our age, when you're starting to slow down, you look at different ways to get the job done.
Be smart.
Yeah, exactly.
The hot gates, right?
Hot gates, right, man. Build the ball up, channelize them, put them through here.
Absolutely. And that's that, you know, when you have that mentality drilled into you, yeah, you might get older, a little slower, lose a step here, get put on a pound or two, although I'm not going to openly admit that anymore. You look for the advantage, and it means you're smarter, you're wiser, but what it really means is that you're never going to quit. You're going to learn how to outgun your opponent no matter what.
I mean, and through history, it's passed down to us. I mean, back then, like I said, they lived together and fought together. But how many times have you been out running out there, and then you run across some Marines or some Army? Well, hey, that uniform tells me what I need to know, man. We're good. We can, you're out here for a reason too.
Absolutely.
And it's just that bond, that small little thing that you can notice or you can look at, saying, all right, man, kind of like-minded, been through some stuff like we have, and I could probably roll with this guy.
Absolutely. Just that little, and it's funny because our listeners right there, as you and I have absolutely learned since we've gotten out, it's much more difficult to identify that, right? Because guys aren't, as the Spartans went into Athena or wherever they went on, they could tell those are Spartans, right? With us.
They're here for a reason, so... but you're right, out in the civilian where everyone's spread out and people can't identify
who's who.
Right. And you never know. My old man taught good piece of advice, man. That old adage that never judge a book by its cover. You have no idea what you're staring. I mean, you may know what you think you're looking at, but behind that,
it's a can of whoop ass that you later.
Whoopsie. Yeah, kind of deal. So that's the beauty about bringing these guys up on here or whoever it is we have in here, man. They're going to tell you something that's going to, whoa.
Exactly.
I didn't see that one coming.
And that's awesome. And that's a great segue into the next part of the interview. Now, I just want to let y'all know, if you're not familiar, I'm your host, David Rutherford. I'm a former Navy SEAL, speaker, coach, and author, all that stuff too. And then obviously, if you're listening in, you hopefully know Marcus and the great success that he's had paying tribute to his fallen brothers and also our brothers. Sorry, my brother. Yeah. And also too.
That's what you'll see on here too, folks. Is we come at each other hard and fast. So we don't. I mean, what is the delay or the gap between when you're standing around your buddies and you say something?
Nothing.
I mean, you're like a pack of wolves, man. Like, got your wrist in the seawater, man. Just stand by. The sharks are coming.
What's going to be awesome is when we have guests on that are prepared for that, and they're
like, that doesn't sound right.
That's a little sketchy. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's a little thin, man. It's a little thin.
All right, so you know who we are, why we're here, what our mission is. So the next part, what we're going to do today is, the interviews, we don't have anybody on. It's just me and Marcus today, because what we really want to do is we want to flush out what we believe is the definition of the never quit mindset. And so we're going to go back and forth, and we've got a kind of a loose framework that we've built for our guests that you'll hear repeatedly throughout the series, the Team Never Quit podcast series. And if you want to know more about who we are, what we do, please just visit the Never Quit website. That's teamneverquit.com. And there you can see the Team Never Quit speakers if you're interested in hiring some of the speakers for an event for you, or one of us. If you're interested in going to the Never Quit store, please visit that. We've got some great new gear that's coming out. We've got some new Team Never Quit podcast gear that you might dig, with some cool sayings and maybe a Spartan here or there on the back of a shirt, which will be cool. And as well as our podcast page, which will be the tnqpodcast.com. And on there, you'll learn all about what our message is. You'll hear other stories from people. We're going to be posting blog posts. You'll be able to download the second half of the show there, the lessons learned portion there. So, please join and check us out there. So what we've done to ignite every interview is we put together what's called a Mad Minute. Now, for those of you out there who've been downrange in a particular capacity, or have gotten a chance to develop rapport with the enemy on a rapid fire basis, you'll understand what the Mad Minute might be. Yeah. What we're doing is we're going to try and loosen up our brain a little bit here. So I'm going to do the Mad Minute to Marcus. And Marcus, you know the deal. Just fire back as they come at you. All right?
Let's see if we can keep this up.
All right, here we go. You ready? Where'd you grow up?
Texas.
Movie you've watched more than twice?
Tombstone.
If you had to fight one, Stallone or Arnold?
Stallone.
Is Google more likely to save the world or destroy it?
Technology was good till it wasn't.
Person you'd love to get drunk with?
Kurt Russell.
That's awesome.
Jack Burton.
Jack Burton. Something you're afraid of?
Sharks.
Use these three words in a sentence: Pluto, Hillary Clinton, scissors.
Pluto is still a planet. I don't know Lady Clinton personally, so if I don't know somebody, especially a lady, I don't.
Check, Roger. That's fair.
I'd like to meet her.
Let's go on to the next one.
What was the last?
I've met Bill Clinton twice, and he's actually pretty charming, I gotta say. And he's got a mind like a steel trap.
First Lady, Secretary of State, Senator, has the perfect resume to be our president. Should be, but the email deal's a lot bigger.
It's big.
It's big. Yeah.
It's massive.
It's important. I mean, and being on the side that we're on, not to get off the minute, but
yeah.
I mean, it's important to us.
Well, the thing is
the classification is important.
It's everything, and the potential people that were exposed that are out there on the front line. That's a no-go in my book. So, all right, let's get back to it. All right, do aliens exist?
Yes.
If president for a day, one thing you'd do?
Fix VA.
Nice. Beatles, Rolling Stones, or Led Zeppelin?
Zeppelin.
Live to eat or eat to live?
Eat to live.
World's best vacation destination?
Oh, good one. Best vacation destination. Excuse me, Rome.
Rome.
Yeah.
Dream career if you weren't doing what you're doing now?
Professional golfer.
Oh, God, that's good. All right, ready? Random word association. Ready?
Yeah.
Cobra Commander.
Tom Rhino. No, we got to say something everybody knows. Yeah. I love you, Rhino.
All right, greatest achievement?
Kids.
Nice. That's awesome. All right, so that's the Mad Minute. We're going to do that with every guest that comes on, and we're going to just warm up their brains a little bit. We're going to change the questions for sure. And if you want to add some questions, go ahead and visit us at tnqpodcast.com. Submit those questions, and if they make the cut, we'll throw those into the Mad Minute. So, all right, there you go.
That was funny, that Cobra Commander thing, because one of our guys called him that one time when we were in theater, because we would jock up the Humvees, Transformers, G.I. Joe.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Except for Marty, but Rhino was the troop lead, so I
dig it.
I miss that dude.
Good mug. All right, so here you go. All right, we're gonna get into the first part of the interview, and instead of really breaking down what your never quit story is, I think most people are pretty familiar. If you're not familiar, ladies and gentlemen, get out there. Please go purchase the book Lone Survivor. Listen and read Marcus's account of the Operation Red Wings. Or find somebody out. There's a great Peter Berg did that great series on Discovery. If you want to see the movie, I think he did a great job of
they all did.
Summarizing the love that we have for each other and just how hard y'all fought that day. So what I would like to do though is go into the brief back portion of it to where we understand, some more how you got there in the first place. I think that's some important stuff. So, if we could, first question here is when did you first, when did you wake up one day or somebody told you something that it hit you square in the heart and in the head and you said, wow, there is such a thing as a never quit mindset?
Yeah. Morgan. Twin brother.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I followed him my whole life. He's the alpha of the two of us. So, I mean, being with him growing up and into our careers and everything is it was easier for me kind of deal. I mean, he came up with the ideas and we always shot for it together. It was his idea to be a Navy SEAL and start training for it. So it was a no-brainer. And I tell you what, man, there's one thing, and I talked, Morgan knows this, I've told him about it too. There was a situation is the best way to put it. When we were younger, probably 16 years old, and when I tell you this story, it's going to be, you're thinking it ain't a big deal, but we were on the wave runners down by the lake, and we had to go pull them out to go do whatever. Well, the truck was already parked at the ramp with the trailer on it, and Morgan he was sitting out in the water by the boat ramp with both skis. And all my job, I had to back the trailer down, and then he would load them up, and then I'd pull out of there. I just turned 16, wasn't really good at backing a trailer or anything like that.
I was just thinking in my mind.
No idea. It was reverse, all that, man. Just kind of. So I'm backing the trailer up, and it's fish hooking and all this stuff like that, man. And Morgan's going, yeah, come on, just turn the wheel and all this stuff like that, man. And I got
watch my hand.
Yeah, watch my hand. I got so flustered and frustrated that I got out and I left, and I left him there. I mean, it's played over in my head a million times. Like, okay, what if he was the trail and all the bad stuff and all the good stuff, man. So I left him. I left him.
How old were you? About 16?
16, 15 probably. And eventually, he rolled up and whatnot, man. And I tell you what, that haunted me forever.
Really?
It did, man. I left my brother, and maybe it wasn't a big deal at a boat ramp or whatever, but it was a big deal to me.
Did he know that story? Did you ever tell him that story?
Yeah, later.
Yeah.
Later, years later.
What did he think? Did he say anything to you when you left him?
He's just typical Mojo. He's just like, yeah, tough backing that trailer up, but he's like, I could have used some help with you could have come. He's so rational. It's kind of like, man, bro, I got so frustrated. And from that moment on, no matter how frustrated I get learning something or trying to do something, I won't ever stop or won't ever walk away from it.
It's and what's cool about that is you really, when I asked you the question, man, it came back just like that.
Oh, I think about it. I mean, that's that one thing that stays with me. It wasn't. I mean, we have plenty of situations and never quit moments, and I know most people think when we talk about my never quit moment, it's going through Red Wing and all that stuff like that, but it's not. That was business as usual for us. Mm-hmm. My never quit moment was when I got out of the hospital and got back and came back online.
Now tell us a little bit about that. I mean, because if you're not familiar, what Mark's just talking about is when he got out of the hospital, he requested to go back to a SEAL platoon. He requested to go back to combat, and I think a lot of people, when they hear that, just start shaking their head and go, "Why would you want to do that?"
Yeah.
Most people, because you could have just as easily been like, "Hey, I'm broken up. I'm done. I'm done."
I couldn't leave my brothers holding those jet skis.
No shit.
And I mean, every team guy's the same. We think when we're important, we have a job, but as well as I do, as soon as you turn your badge in, team goes on without you. That's a tough part. I mean, that's a different topic altogether. But yeah, out of the hospital, I mean, they kept asking me what I wanted to do. I was like, just get me back next to my brothers, because I had been separated. And because of the magnitude of what had happened, you can imagine everybody. And the Admiral McGuire, he asked me straight up. He's like, "What do you want to do?" And you know him, man. He's
straight shooter.
E3 to
amazing.
Walk
Great
in there,
story.
open door. I said, "I got a problem, sir." Jumping the chain of command's one thing, but if you had a serious one, and I did. And he's like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I'd like to go back." And it was a test to myself too. I mean, that's a big misconception, is that you watch the movies and read the books, but it was a failure. I mean, we got beat. And team guys don't like to lose. So
Ever.
I just as long as I could keep up, that was the deal. Like, I don't have any problem sending you back if you can keep up. And dropped back in the platoon, started doing the workup, and it was tough, man. I had a understanding leadership, a master chief and the skipper, all the way down to the OIC and all the boys. I mean, ultimately, it's the E5 Mafia that you have to answer to.
They're the ones that hold you accountable.
Accountable, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, all those guys kind of understood, and I was like, hey man, I gotta go back. And I remember when we got over there, I was like, man, it might have been a mistake, because Ramadi was hell.
That's what always cracks me up is that
I got exactly what I wanted. Yeah.
It's not like you got deployed to the Philippines or Australia. You went to Ramadi.
Yeah, 06, 07.
06, 07 in the most dangerous place on earth.
I mean,
and
good
the
Lord.
worst. That was literally the worst segment in the whole Iraq War. And you went right into the heart of it.
And I remember going back in, and I talk about this now, and my teammates, I even talked about it to Senior Chief when we were patrolling down by the government center first time out, man, when we first started taking it, when we got engaged.
Mm-hmm.
I could have swore I froze forever. We were in a channelized area, and I just kind of leaned against the wall, and I was like, what the? I literally talked to myself. It felt like forever, trying like, what are you doing out here? Good Lord, man. And after a split second later, somebody was yelling, make a call, or I think we had a center peel down the middle. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. Oh man, it was rough because I had all those. I mean, I was still in and out of the hospitals having surgery, so we had a doctor in. You want to talk about lucky? I had to go to Charlie Med every day pretty much to kind of get taken care of.
Right.
And I was walking through there, and there was a guy standing at a trident on his chest and said Thornton, and I go, hey, what's going on? There's a doctor out there, and he's like, not much. Good to see you guys, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And he was in the reserves. Michael Thornton was his name, and not the Medal of Honor guy. I go, hey, you know what? He goes, trust me, I hear it all the time. And I was like, man, we're up at the at Shark Base, this, that, and the other, and he was living down there with the Army and stuff. He's like, I sure would like to hang out with you guys. So he came to hang out, and I was like, man, we got an empty tent right here. Why don't you just move over here? So he moved up. And
Really?
I had a doctor next door, which was good.
Huge.
In retrospect, because we were getting pounded in Ramadi.
Every night. You guys were like 85% of the time you guys went out.
All the guys getting fragged by grenades. I mean, Elliot it was bad. So it was a blessing to have him on target.
That's cool. Well, when you I love how you put it into context and realize that one small decision, whether it's good or bad, strong or weak or whatever it is, can set you up for that long-term success like you did on that boat rig.
I mean, everybody thinks that a never quit moment has to be something monumental or just to where the whole world knows about it or the whole town or something like that. Like, hey, this happened to him, but it's not. It's back in the trailer down the boat ramp when your brother's waiting on you. To me. That's all it took, man.
Listen, I think it's for me. I'll tell you where mine was exactly. I was playing Pop Warner football, and it was my second year, 85-pound Pop with Boca Jets, right? And I was the starting quarterback. And I'll tell you what happened. My family was coming out to California on a vacation, so my mom talks to coach, hey, we're just going to take 2-week vacation. If I come back, is he still going to start? And coach is like, yep, don't worry, he's got it. Just make sure he learns the playbook. And by the way, Mike Phipps was one of our coaches. He's a former Chicago Bear, and he was quarterback. So we had like an 85-page play. It was nuts, right? Yeah, it was nuts. I'm 9 years old, right?
Blue Raven 7. What?
But literally, so on my vacation, for 2 hours a day, I'd be out in the yard practicing the playbook, right? So come back. And the head coach's son is now the quarterback, so I was benched.
Yeah.
And I sat that bench that whole year, for 10 games or whatever. Sat the bench, never played. But every day going into practice, my mom or my dad would be like, hey, you make sure you give it your all today, and no matter what happens. And just that influence from my parents, that determined in my mind that I wasn't going to let that beat me down, was where I first discovered it, and it was huge. It was the transition. Who?
I think that's the kind of when you got guys going through SEAL training, and I mean, how many millions of dollars they spend in trying to figure out why one guy makes it, one guy doesn't. And
they've been studying it legitimately for the past 30 years.
I think it boils down to if you and I don't remember getting asked this, and I don't know if you do either, but I mean, if I was doing the head shrinking stuff, trying to figure that out, I'd be like, hey, tell me you're never. Not to be cliche, but tell me a moment where you bailed on something that you shouldn't have, and it bothered you. And if they could rattle off just that fast,
Yeah.
and say it's been bothering me, and I know, because in SEAL training, man, there's plenty of times you're like, oh my God, this,
Old misery.
yeah, I mean, you can read all the books and watch all the documentaries, but when you step across that line into butt training, man, you don't have any idea what you just got yourself into, man.
No idea, dude. That's what I love about it.
I know. I like every second, man. You're just holding on to what is going on. You know what I mean?
So I'll do Q&As after my speaking events sometimes, right? And inevitably that one question comes up. Did you ever think about quitting in Hell Week? And I was like, just about every second.
Probably be easier to answer if you asked me if I ever thought about staying. You know what I mean? Like I try to remember when I thought this was a good idea. You know, especially during Hell Week, man. I remember when we after breakout when we were paddling around the down to the rocks.
Yeah.
I was sitting in there and we were all just kind of waiting for the rest of the crew to get to the zone, and I go, hey guys, we're in it, man. We're in the books. We're in the movie. We're in Hell Week right now. And I thought to myself, man, this is magnificent. It was great. And then the beat down started right then and there, and it went away. But that part of it was like, oh man, we made it this far. That's a big deal to me, man. And I was just there. I didn't have anything else.
Yeah.
What else is there?
There isn't. And that's the mindset, right?
Yeah.
That's where you can tap into that. What else is there?
Yeah, guys like, man, I'm my wife. I can't be in this. I got to spend more time with my wife. What does that mean, man?
Yeah. Why are you here?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the wrong mindset.
Think about that kind of deal. I mean, to me, I didn't have anything else. And plus, I had Morgan back here. There's no way I could come home.
No.
Because he was coming. So he was so fired up about every day.
Right.
I mean, you know us, man. When you're going through training, last thing you want to do is talk about it and relive it. And it was just, and I'm trying to explain to Morgan, because right then and there, as soon as I came into SEAL training, our definition of suck was different. You know, all the training that we did together growing up was
gone.
Right.
It
But now
changes.
it's just like, hey, I'm on a different line than you are now, brother. You'll be here. It's nothing personal, but he was so fired up every day. Like, what happened? Tell me about the log. How bad did it hurt? I mean, just
to the dad's ass. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just reliving it, man. And the way he would say it, I mean, it was just so cool to him, because when you're going through it, you lose that.
Fast.
It's not cool.
At all.
That first time you hit the zone for surf torture, it's not cool.
I remember Senior Chief Dobstaff, man, was this crazy old coot senior chief in first phase, and we had done something, and it was like for early and a couple weeks in, and we're out there, and he's like, get in the surf, and we're out there at evening time, and it's cold, and we're jackhammering, and he just went off walking that berm, talking about, all right, I caught one of you guys who didn't have your bootlaces tied correctly, and if you're gonna do that, you're gonna do it going through a door, someone's gonna trip, you're gonna get killed, and he went on and on and on.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is not what I expected.
Yeah.
Is this what Charlie Sheen went through?
Right, exactly. Yeah, you see the frogs, SEALs don't ever tell you that, because once you go through all that and you get into that life, misery is awesome. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like, you can't brag about it out loud to anybody else, because they're like, man, that sounds terrible. Be like, yeah, it is terrible, but I was with this dude and he did this and this happened, and you're like, oh man, that's where it kind of starts. And I mean, team guys are great at studying human behavior.
Yeah,
anybody
for sure.
in combat, actually, because you ultimately see the worst.
Right.
And the best of somebody makes everybody happy, but you want to know what somebody's is capable of at the worst.
That's
so
it.
we study all that, and then you watch these guys going through the hard times, and you know the deal. When they quit, you're like, well, I can handle that, and he didn't. And I mean,
And that self-confidence
It's not a
builds just
bravado
one
thing.
more
It's
bit.
just
Yeah. It builds one.
Yeah, exactly. When you look around and your boys are standing around and the other guys aren't, man, you're like, all right, even though you're beat down, and I mean, it's that success and failure.
Totally.
We just got our asses
One inch at a time.
We just got our asses handed to us, man, but we accomplished something. And that's what a lot of people, I think, especially as time progresses and technology and everything makes everything a lot easier. So when they get into those hard situations, they can bail on it.
Yeah.
But you really don't know anything about yourself till you've been tested.
Absolutely.
I mean, bottom line, dude.
Bottom line. That's where we learn, is when that application of pain, it challenges us. It allows us to check ourselves, to check that reality that we've experienced. And the more pain you apply with your collective team, right, and the more you make through, the greater opportunity you have for that never quit moment.
It is, man. And it's the unique thing about the SEAL teams, man, is every day sucks. even in the team. Remember they would tell us, you think you're cold, miserable, wet now, man, just wait. And you're like, no way, I could be more miserable than I am now. And then you make it past a certain point. And I imagine it's after Hell Week, it was for me, where they're out there surf torture and you're doing the push-ups to hell won't have it. And you're like, man, this is stupid.
Yeah.
It's not affecting me anymore. It's just, I think we could be something better.
More positive, right?
I could be
I could be learning something right
now. That's the rub in the teams, man, is it's always sucking. So,
always.
Yeah.
So it was Doug Sholin who told me. He was with Corey Knowles, Doug Sholin. It was, the Midnight Crew in Hell Week.
Yep.
And first night, they're crushing us. And they were like, listen, you think this is bad, just know this. It never gets easier.
I think that's a pass down thing, right? I mean, one of the guys has to say that line because that's the one every frogman remembers it.
Yeah.
So when you're out there, and most of the time in teams, you got your buddy with you, man, and they're like, man, this sucks. You'll be like, yeah, but remember that time, and the beauty about Buzz is it never changes. So that you and I have the same
memory,
exactly,
same reference point.
How we handle it is different. And how it affects us, because I mean, horror and terror is a matter of perspective.
Totally.
With us, man, they've taken it all the way legally or illegally a lot of times.
I think it's more illegal than anything.
How far you can push us, because when we're going in, and if you make training, this is a kind of a peacetime deal, but when you start to back off the how hard you make it. Well, man, the reason it's how hard we made it is because we had to learn the hard way to get here.
Absolutely.
So you start drawing that back. I don't care if you times have changed. Well, man, times can always go back.
Right.
Anything that's been done can be undone. We can most certainly have somebody roll over our shores, and if you only have less than 1% of the population who knows how to fight it, then
you're gonna get smoked.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of one of deals you don't want to learn on the fly.
No, it is not a learn on the fly scenario.
And I mean, I was sitting around a guy. I don't think he had any idea I know he didn't know who I was, but he didn't know what I did. And he was talking about something about a body count, or I was like, hey man, you ever have to kill anybody? You ever see anybody die? Well, man, how do you have the right to bitch and complain about that when some Americans have to go do that?
Yeah.
That's as far as you can take it to the other side to protect what we got. You can sit here and bitch about it, or you can man up and get online.
Go get online, right?
So, I mean, yeah, my perspective might be different, and we may have had to do that for this country, but don't think that it makes you any better than me because I've had to take a life and you haven't.
Amen.
I mean, I just don't see it like that.
And that's their gift. That's their gift.
That's
their gift.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's what we do, and that's fun, man. And
there's guys that are geared for it. I understand that as well, but. My point to that was, if you back it up and we get it, somebody comes over here and we all have to step up and fight.
Yeah,
man,
your
perspective's going to change. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be trying to call somebody to come help you, but we're busy doing our own thing. Ain't nobody going to come help you, man.
At all. All right. Here you go. And the next question, though, is I love that there was a moment in time where you figured out that never quit is real. Now, who was the ultimate never quit mentor for you?
One thing that's passed down to my brother and I, we kind of luckily to get on this. And when you're growing up, man, you got superhero. I mean, it's no secret that I'm a big Spider-Man fan kind of deal. Great power comes great responsibility. Well, I fed off. I mean, those are lines to the cartoon, but it meant something to me.
Right.
Just like honor, that word means something to some people and not to the other. So we kind of spread it out. Ultimately, I heard a phrase from somebody, and I don't want to take it away from who said. I think it was Theismann. He's like, man, when I die or when I go by the wayside, I don't want to ever be compared to another man.
That's cool.
That's kind of ultimate. Not saying I want to be better than everybody else, but when you're like, yeah, have you ever heard of this guy? He's like that. Man, you just be like, hey, no, that's
who he is. That's him.
That's who he is. So, man, I think, and when I talk to the kids these days, man, I'm talking, hey, look, man, find something about somebody because don't set yourself up for failure or disappointment by making one guy your idol, because humans, we're going to screw up by nature.
No one's perfect, right?
And that's the beauty about Team Never Quit, man, is if I fall or you find out something about it, doesn't matter. I mean, that's what this is. Everyone has those little downsides to them, but everybody has an upside too. So my point on that was that you could meet somebody, find out a little bit about them, and something about them will motivate you.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And if you just kind of adopt that, because it's easier, I think, to learn one or two things from somebody and how they're positive as opposed to emulating
someone else.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To mimic another human being is to the detriment of your own development,
Absolutely.
right?
That's basically letting somebody else write your story.
Yeah.
Tell your life, and kind of pushing you in that direction. Man, you don't want to do that. That's theirs. You know what I mean? And
it happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
The way people emulate stars, or they emulate other, politicians, or all that
the good
nonsense.
And the bad.
And
so
the bad.
Like, just this person, I idolize him, and nobody else exists. He's great at this, and then he's strung out on drugs, so I'm gonna be strung out on. Well, man, I don't. I'm sure if you talk to him, he'd be like, hey, don't run this line that I run on this one. All right. I mean, that's human.
But we do that,
and
I think it really goes back to why we're doing this right here, is because people lack those reference points.
Yeah.
They don't have the never quit story as a kid. They don't have the never quit mentor in their lives, and they certainly haven't. A lot of people really don't welcome that painful process of creating that team never quit to support you.
And if you look at somebody, so people say, hey, I like Marcus, and Red Wing is one of one. Well, man, hey, look, that I appreciate it. Don't look at it from the Red Wing perspective, because it wasn't one of our finest moments. After that, the getting back up online, and I think some people, they're like, that he had to go through this, so I got to go through that just to be somebody. I think that happens if you attach yourself to somebody you look up to, and I think it's better if you look at some of the shorter never quit moments they've been in and build up to that, because like
Absolutely.
I said, when we get into the stuff we get into, it's not like we signed the piece of paper, they handed us a rifle, and we went and got thrown in it.
No.
You're talking about years and years of training just to handle that.
Yeah.
And the great battles are reserved for great warriors. There's a reason why we sit around for years and years and years just training. Never stops.
And people don't get that. And that's what I think a big component we want people to hear coming out of all the interviews that we have on, people coming out of all the talk that you and I have with each other, is, listen, this is a process. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and be like, you're ready for your ultimate, incredible, massive experience, and you got to build up to it.
It's all relative, and the reason when you say always training, that means people, they hear Navy SEAL, they see the Trident, like we're on our perfect examples. When you watch TV, a Jason Bourne movie or something like that, or something where they can hack into any computer, pick any lock, hotwire any car at all times. I was like, I can run outright at this temperature for 3.5 miles before I start breathing hard, that kind of deal.
Yeah.
Well, we train every day just to maintain that level. It's kind of the reference to riding the bicycle or flipping a coin on your fingers.
Yep.
You get really good at it. You can do it in all different directions. Stop doing it for a couple of weeks.
You can't do it.
And you're dropping it.
Same thing with shooting. Same thing with
anything. If you never assume or say out loud that you're the best at something.
People do that though, don't they?
Yeah, and that's kind of the point that Morgan and I never did that, because we were never the strongest, fastest, smartest. But you saw the guys that were up in that level, and man, if he can get there, I can too.
Yeah,
I can study. Even if I'm not the smartest, I can study harder. I can always be. And granted, you can go blind and lose your way trying to achieve something like that. I think that's a unique perspective that we have, and that also comes with age and experience, man. If you just put so much into something, you can lose sight of everything else. And it's the collective of everything that we're taught over and over and over again. That attention to detail, because you know as well as I do, it's the little things that pile up to make things go bad.
Totally.
So if you're always watching for that little, that light bulb's flickering, I'm going to change it. I'm not going to wait for it to go out. That kind of deal.
Yeah.
And just
that hyper arousal, the hypersensitivity to things.
Staying on it.
Yeah.
You hear it all the time in the team. Stay on it. Stay on it. Stay on it. Stay on it.
Look for work.
Yeah. Look for work.
Yeah.
Do something. Be busy.
Yeah.
From the time you're sleeping, you get up. As soon as my feet hit the floor, man, it's rolling.
And I think a lot of people nowadays, because we're trying, society in so many different ways is trying to remove the discomfort of life, right? We want the comfort zone behavior to be integrated into our mindset, into us physically, mentally, spiritually. So that application of pain just seems to be pulled away from people, and they're running the other way from it.
Right. You got to look at it from. I was talking to this guy about golf, and they were saying that a lot of the younger generation don't want to put the time in to learn to get as good. You see the guys on TV and the pros, you don't really know how good they are until you're standing next to them.
Yeah.
And they put thousands and thousands of hours to obtain that. And some people, I think it can get lost in translation where people just want the give them the baby, not the labor pains kind
Right.
of deal. But there's so much more you learn about yourself, and the reason a lot of people are as good as they are is because they know themselves. They've been through all of that, and to obtain the level that they're at, man, they've had to obtain the other side of the level.
Absolutely.
And if you're not willing to put the work in, somebody else will.
Totally.
And as technology progresses, I'm all about learning to do it the easy way. Or doing it, having it easy.
The smart, right? Yeah.
The saying in the teams, man, we learn it the hard way so we can do it the easy way. And with Axe, I mean, that's my parenting kind of way I look at it. We started learning how to play catch baseball.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a glove yet. He will learn how to catch with his hands before he will learn how to get easier with that glove.
There's
and then throwing with each other. I mean, you're right-handed, you're good with that. I don't want that. I want you throwing with your other hand.
Yeah.
Same thing we do, man. Learn how to shoot offhand.
Yep.
Because this one, if you lose that, then I mean, just because my arm's down, I still have another one. I better get in this.
I got to keep going.
Yeah.
And I love that about our mindset, right? And so I want to pivot a little bit now and kind of move into, the folks that were a part of that day with you. Because I think, one of the great things that you do really well is you keep their memory alive, and more than just the memory of that day, but who they were as men. And those were some great guys. And, do any of the conversations you had with them, any one of them, stand out in your mind where they were talking about what we're talking about now, that never quit mindset?
Yeah, around the campfire after everything's done, man, when everybody starts telling the stories of it's usually the greatest part about it is get somebody in there who's been in multiple platoons and been around. You know what I mean?
Me about
and
it.
those guys who can tell the story, I mean, it's priceless. That's the greatest part. I've always loved to listen to good stories, man. You got those guys who just, hey, man. The guy's like, yeah, it was a gunfight. The guy's like, oh my God, man, there were so many bullets flying. My butt puckered like that, and this guy was sweating. And man, I didn't know what to do. That kind of stuff. That's what those guys. You're like, yeah, man, and that's the beauty about running around with guys like us, man, because it could be a mundane deal, or it could be just the tip of just the most ungodly thing you ever heard. And when they tell it, you're like, oh my man, I'd like to get into that. I wish I was there with you, because I think team guys, and the reason we're not affected as hard as most everybody else is because, man, the people are mentors. When you were my instructor, dude, I was blown away. I mean, you were the man,
right?
You are the man, that kind of deal. And we were talking about that trend. We can deal with that later, but when you got somebody above you teaching you and they're fired up about it, then that motivates you to stay fired up about it.
Totally.
And our community is so small, and we do the reunions. You see that the old timer, I love this story. Morgan and I were sitting at the reunion, man, and we were like, hey, we didn't have any money. Yeah. I'm like, hey, man, let's say let's put a sign up that says, get your picture taken with twin Navy SEALs, 1 beer. You know what I mean? And then I was walking around and I bumped into this guy, and he kind of hit me in the chest. Leg was gone, arm was gone. He was on a cane. He had a hat on, said SEAL, and had Bud's Class 1 on his name tag. Well, I had mine on mine, obviously, and he kind of looked up at me, and he looked at my number, my Bud's Class number. He goes, hey, meat. He's like, I'll whip your ass, boy. Go get me a beer. I was like, yes, sir. It's that camaraderie and that respect we have for the guys who had come above us, because they made the road.
Well, so here you go. I right when I first started Frog Logic, right, and I'm doing a kids program for these foster care home boys in Boca, and I their first day with me, I took them up to the museum. And so who'd I get to take them on their museum tour was Patches Watson,
nice.
Right? Chief Watson.
Oh, yeah.
So he's going around and he's saying stuff that would drop people, like just jaws. These kids were just jaw. He tells a story about how he, shot the guy, North Vietnamese Medal of Honor winner, and then took his gun. I mean, just phenomenal stuff. These guys, their jaws drop. And then afterwards, I got a chance to say, hey, Patches, and 4 deployments as point man, every single one, Mac VSOG, the whole deal. I mean, just a remarkable team guy. And we're sitting there, and I'm thanking him, and all of a sudden, this old guy walks up, and he's like, hey, Patches, a chief's in the car and wanted to give you this. And he's got this old bedroll, and it looked old. Yeah. And he goes, it's one of his bedrolls from the South Pacific that he had stuffed away. And Patches just about faces, starts hightailing it for his broken down old body, goes out to this car, and in the back of this beat up old like Buick Skylark thing is this old dude, like beat up. And Patches leans in and is like, "Hey, Boats, how you doing, sir? How's it going?" And like Patches just exuded what I was just exuding to him. And he just says, "Hey, thanks for," and he goes, "Yeah, Chief, I thought you'd like that bedroll. I used that in Saipan, Iwo Jima." And he goes through these campaigns that he was on. And we walk away, and he shakes his hand. He says, "Great to see you. God bless. Take care." And I go, "Patches, who was that?" He goes, "That guy was in every single swimmer scout for all those campaigns he talked about." And he was in his 80s and 90s. But it's exactly what you're saying, that ability for our lineage to be passed down, for that mindset, the never quit mindset, to be imprinted on you, on the kids below us, on the person above us, and for us to share that to give us strength.
Yeah. I bring that up about the Buds compound. I think I just graduated. I was waiting for SOT, and I was up at the quarterdeck, and this dude walks in, ripped up flannel shirt, most of his hair was gone except for the long part he had down, just holes in his jeans, and he's kind of staring around. I was like, can I help you, sir? He goes, "Place got a facelift since last time I was through here," and I was kind of whatever. And when you're looking at him, you're like, he's skinny. Yeah, okay, sure. I go, "You were here training, sir?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he said his Buds class, and I was like, "Well, we have it on the right here." And he pulled up his Buds class, and sure enough, man, he's standing over on the side, had his old Dixie cup tipped over. Everything changed right there. That was that lesson. Don't judge anybody.
Exactly.
I've had plenty of those where I saw
all the time.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time.
And then at the reunion one time, they had there was a Navy Cross guy there, and a lot of the generation before us, and they were they started telling the stories, and that's when you shut up and listen. And they were talking about this one guy. His wife had all his kids. He had a collared shirt on. It was all tucked in, and they were telling a story about his first op in Vietnam. He was a new guy, and they had pushed off the trail, and there was VC walking up the trail, and the OIC was doing this. So the guy sat down, jumps out, grabs this guy, and cuts him. And they're on the ground, and they're rolling into the bushes, and everybody's kind of sitting there watching. The OIC comes walking over. He's like, "I got him." And the guy goes, "I was telling you to get down and get quiet." I know you want me to cut his... And I was just kind of...
Oh my God!
What?
And you hear that, man, and that just
fires you up, man.
Oh, it's awesome.
Pass that on to the boys when we're done. You're like, and it's kind of one of them deals where I gotta live up to. The hard dudes. I can't be no. And the biggest compliment you can get is from the guys ahead of us.
Yeah.
Like, "Hey, you guys are making us proud." Well, that's all I need to hear right there, man.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
And that was always the greatest thing. You get these guys who had these prolific stories from Vietnam or World War II, and they look at you with that respect, mutual respect, and it's invigorating. It intensifies that need or desire for when the future comes and your never quit moment happens, that you'll be ready for it.
Sure.
And that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I tell you what.
And I think to go down that one a little further, man. So we just explained how we do business, how we motivate each other because of that environment that we're in and whatnot. So it doesn't have to be anything as severe as what we're talking about to get us fired up in whatever you're doing, man. If you're sitting there and you have one of those moments and you're like, "Hey, this went down. This is what I did," and that guy's like, I same thing, man. That kind of deal. So it doesn't have to be, like we said, the most extreme kind of deal, man. It's something if it means something, if it sticks with you.
Absolutely. If your brain categorizes that and locks it into that moment, then that's something that gives you relevance in your life.
Yeah,
it's important. And don't. The one thing that I always tell people is listen, you don't need to be a Navy SEAL to be exceptional in this life.
No.
What you need to have is a heart that's based around servitude.
Well, that's how we were made. That's how we expressed we found our niche. That's what it was that we were good at and we excelled in. And you're right. Not everybody has to be a Navy SEAL or a doctor or a lawyer. It doesn't matter. Be proud of whatever it is you do. That was what it was for us, just to be there with the guys to get through those terrible spots, because we're not making money or changing policy or anything like that, man. We're just out there struggling in the deep end.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, everybody. I hope everybody's tracking now. You're digging what we're putting down for you. As you can see, Marcus and I could go on for days and days and days about all this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to finish this segment, the first intro to the first Team Never Quit podcast. We're going to talk about a couple more things and this part of the show. So, Marcus, in all of your experience and not only what happened in that first deployment, but in Afghanistan, but then going back to Ramadi and all of that, when you thought about all those moments, all that stuff, all the things that come together, what was the thing that really secured or locked in your experience that, you know what, no matter what, if I have my team around me, I'm going to be all right.
Right. I mean, I had one of those defining moments after all of them were gone. You know, I was laying there by myself and kind of alone. And team guys don't like to be alone. I mean,
No.
we just don't. So having to recharge my battery in my brain to tell myself to get up, it's okay to keep going by yourself. It was that was my lowest point. It wasn't during any of that else. It was when I was doubting myself. And I thought, man, I had to think about it like, all right, I do everything as a team. I'm not a strongest link, a weakest link. I'm just a link in the chain. But I literally had to start telling myself like, well, you know what? I am a link in the chain. I do bring something to the table. And I always have that, irregardless if they're there with me or not. I mean, I always have to be around my brothers, proving to them that I am who I am. And once I figured that out in my head, I kept going. And then ultimately, when the Army found me and the Marines came in and we all kind of joined back up, man, all that came flowing back in. That all right, now I know I'm powerful and I can make this because of them.
Yeah.
Now I have responsibility, not to myself. I was just kind of staying alive until it got done. And then once they came around, then I was like, all right, well, now I'm back in the link. And just coming out of that and then getting back to the Strand around all my teammates, they never, even though in my situation, I'm a loss we're a check in the L bracket kind of deal. We don't look at it like that, man, because we're not prize fighters. They get all bent out of shape, and as they should when they lose a fight, man, but we're war fighters, so we're going to lose some. And I always looked at it from that perspective, man. It doesn't matter if win or lose, man. We gave it all we had, so let's go back in and do it again. And just having all them behind you, you know how powerful that is. And I basically, when I got out, I looked at it like, man, all of the guys that went down the way they did, what kind of piece of crap would I be if I crawled into a bottle and didn't do anything? I'd dishonor that whole deal because they wouldn't.
No.
You know what I mean? And what if they were still alive and I was doing this? How would they look at me?
Yeah.
Because nobody keeps us in check like we do.
Yep.
So that's why it was so important for me to keep talking to the team guys, and having my brother is obvious because, we've all had our butts kicked, but we did it together. And the unique thing about the SEAL teams, man, it doesn't matter that I was on the mountain. Any team guy could have been on the mountain and done exactly what I did. So we all just put out. It's just with team guys and certain events, I just happened to be there. You could have been there. Yeah. From the day before, the team could have got switched. It doesn't matter. It's we celebrate the highlights of our successes with each other as we do the failures. So just as when I see the guys from Dam Neck, I'm like, hey, I'm so proud of you, man. I love you, and this, that, and the other. And they all had patches underneath their gear said, remember. Red Wing, and then extortion was a big deal for us. We all get hit, man. We all still get affected, even when we're out. Yeah. And I see these new kids come. Morgan brought some of the guys from his last platoon over, and I was looking at them going, man, does your mom know you're out here playing frogman? But we were all that age. We were early 20s when we came in, man, and that's I think that gets overlooked a lot because when your face, when people are on TV talking about war and everything, it's a general. He's ready, he's battle hardened and stuff like that. But man, the ones out there slinging the lead are them wide-eyed.
Kids.
Yeah, wide-eyed.
We were all just a bunch of kids, man.
Kids will do it. We'll do anything. Yeah. We can take anything because we're young, man. When you get older and you've been through it, you're like, man, that's probably not a good idea. When you're learning at that age, man, you're like, well, let's go get hurt.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there you have it. All right. So I hope you're tracking. Everybody understands, man. Listen, your never quit mindset is a derivative of the longevity of your life, right? It's about learning it from an early age that if you put your mind to it, you put your heart into it, you put your back into it, and you take on board those great positive influences from the people you care about and the people who love you too, right? That equal distribution of love that really inspires you to be a better human being, to evolve in that human condition, that you too will be ready for your never quit moment.
Sure, man. It's those moments that make you unique. It makes you who you are. I mean, if you come across somebody who's like, yeah, I went to this school, made A's, the whole time it was pretty easy, and I got out, had some money. You want the guys like, man, I read 3 different books on this just to make it B, and then I got out, and I was wearing 2 less shoes for a couple years, man, no shoelaces, and me and my buddy would switch socks out just because that seemed like a new pair, and then you're sitting next to him, and he's kind of, everything's all right, man.
Everything's okay.
That's the interesting part about him, about that person, man, is to see how far, and that's what I like to find. You see how far someone can go down.
Yeah.
And just sit there with that smile on your face and tell you about it, because everybody's going to go through it. I mean, a problem might be unique to that person and how they deal with it, but the problem is not unique.
No.
You know what I mean?
Amen. Amen. All right, so there you have it. That's it. That's the end of the very first Team Never Quit show. If you want to know more about us, please visit the Team Never Quit website at teamneverquit.com. That's teamneverquit.com. If you want to learn more about the Team Never Quit speakers, click that button. If you want to go visit our store, again, we've got some incredible gear for you. Please check out the TNQ, the Team Never Quit ammo that's out there. It's great ammo. It's been tested by some great snipers out there. Really good stuff. If you want to check out all the information, we're all on there, everything you need to know. So please don't hesitate. And listen, also one thing that we want to tell you too is we want to make sure that you recognize that if you have a never quit story, please go ahead and send that in on the website. Write in your never quit story, or if you know someone that's amazing, tell that never quit story to them. And if they're awesome, Marcus and I are going to read those on air, all right? And if they're really awesome and you blow us away, we're going to bring you on the Team Never Quit podcast. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Absolutely. All right, so that's it. I want to first personally thank you, Marcus.
Had a great time, brother.
I'm having a good time. This is going to be awesome. It's the first of a long series. We got a great bunch of first shows. Don't forget to tune in. You can check the website for upcoming guests. And I want to I'd love to thank my wife, my kids, my family, and most importantly, all my teammates. Thank you, and thank all my instructors, and then thank God. Who you want to thank, Marcus?
Man, I'm back up that line you just threw out, man. It's those of us that are affecting us right now, and those that have made us who we are today. So the boss and the admiral, they get the first accolade. The kids, the family, and then our teammates, man, and who made us who we are, and keep us going and motivating us, whether they know it or not. And thank God for the opportunity to be up here and have and do something like this. I mean, you know the deal with us, man. We're not going to do something unless it's absolutely entertaining to us and fun and helps other people. And that's the unique thing about this, and that's why I'm excited to do it.
Awesome. All right. So there you have it. We're out.
Never quit. Team Never Quit. Team Never Quit Radio.